We're in a time, let's face it, where people are just being flogged with negativity and bad news and toxicity and just elevating to hatred. And what we want for this podcast is be positive as a mantra, as an attitude, as something that we can call out in those moments where we're challenged and remind ourselves that we do have optimism, hope, and encouragement. And so we invite you in. Enjoy the Be Positive podcast and enjoy hope, optimism, and encouragement.
Having met so many families and kids along the way who watch baseball and maybe got a little something out of my play, I'm very proud of that. I've become appreciative of just how much people watch baseball. People watch athletes. They watch what you're doing, and it to be able to make that impact, I'm really proud of that.
Welcome back to Be Positive. This is the home of optimism, hope, and encouragement. We're at the Hoag Classic. And Jim, I don't know if you realize the credentials at this tournament. It's an unbelievable display of players. 34 that are in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
There's over 400 championships, crowns that have been earned by these players, and over 50 of the majors that have been won by these players. A little bit of credentials.
Incredible.
Yeah, Incredible. And you're out there golfing with them.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I'm golfing with them, but I remember a lot of the names, a lot of my favorites. Jose Maria Alathable and Patty Harrington and John Daly, Fred Couples. A lot of guys that I remember, and it's a great honor to walk in their footsteps. I guess out there.
Jim Furyk, Vijay Singh,
Steve Stricker. Yeah,
I mean, it's just a who's who of golf for golf enthusiasts. I'm amazed by it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. And you think back, you and I are from similar areas. I'm a little bit older than you, but some of their highlight moments, and you can just think of the roar of the crowd and that 45-foot putt to seal the win, and it goes on and on.
Yeah. No, they you marvel at their accomplishments and their. And we're lucky here. I live here in town, and we see these guys come in and they're walking around town. They're going to restaurants, and and you get to see what their life is like a little bit up close today. And I really admire not only their accomplishments but the way they go about it. A lot of class, a lot of class the way these guys handle themselves.
Yeah. Are you surprised to see humility with their level of success? Does that surprise you or no?
No, I mean, I'm not surprised by it because it's a humbling game. Golf is a game much like baseball where you're going to have to deal with things that go sideways. You're going to deal with a bad break or two. You're going to bring your A game, and all of a sudden things aren't going to turn out well for you. So it's not surprising to see people who play this game, bring an element of humility to their lives.
Yeah. Be surprised. My background is in professional tennis. And what most don't realize, you look at some of the greats. I was just south of some of the greats. And but take a Roger Federer or a Djokovic, some of the top talent in history. They only win 51% of their games.
That's
51%.
Amazing. That's amazing.
40, just over the halfway mark of more than losing.
That's amazing.
And nobody ever realizes how close that margin is.
Yep.
And you've probably been seeing that Jimabbot on the mound, having those experiences where you are on fire at one moment and then you're not.
Yeah, for sure. I had a great mentor. My first couple years in the major leagues, I played with a guy named Bert Blyleven, who ended up being in the Hall of Fame. And he had a piece of advice that I've always taken to heart, and I think if it's true in life too. He said, you're going to have 35 starts in a season if you're a starting pitcher. 5 of them will be perfect. 5 of them will be horrible. And the 25 in the middle are how you carve your way into a career, how you carve your way into a good season. And so I think it goes to exactly what you're saying. You have to make do when things aren't bad and they aren't perfect, So it's a great piece of advice.
Well, let me ask you a question, because you were an all-star major league pitcher, but you get typecast as, maybe one of the greatest testimonies of a major league athlete or a professional athlete with a disability. Is that baggage? Is that tag along? Or do you go like, hold on, I was just a good pitcher. Forget the fact that I've got a right arm that's not quite all the way there.
Yeah. It took me a while. I was a kid, I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted to fit in, um, and so that drove me. There was an ambition there.
Yeah.
But I've really come to be proud of the accomplishments that I had, and I'm proud of um, having played at the level that I played, and having met so many families and kids along the way who watch baseball and who maybe got a little something out of my play. I'm very proud of that. I've become, um, more and more appreciative of just how much people watch baseball. People watch athletes. They watch what you're doing, and it to be able to make that impact, I'm really proud of that.
Is it an ongoing pressure, a pressure that lasts, where there's a lot of eyes and ears on what Jim Abbott is doing?
I don't know that it's,
You're getting watched.
yeah, well, I mean, maybe not so much anymore. I've got 2 daughters. I know they're watching me, that's for sure.
Yeah. How old are your daughters?
They're in their 20s now and on their own and doing good stuff, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah.
But, hey, we try to do the best we can. We wake up in the morning, live our lives in a way, hopefully, that we make them the best of what we've been given. I think that's the lesson I learned from my parents. Make the most of what we've been given, day in and day out. And my dad used to say, the most profound thing I think I ever learned is, he said, what's been taken away once will be given back twice. And he said, you're up to this challenge of being different, and you can do this. So I try to live by those words and live up to what I've been given.
I want to spend more time on the personal side of your life, if you don't mind, but I've got to ask about what the precursor was to the no-hitter. 5 days earlier on that start, you got shellacked.
Yeah. Yes. That's
Yes.
true. That's true.
I mean, did you ever think, okay, you go out there, you have a rough outing, just like you said, okay, that's maybe one of the bottom 5,
Yeah.
and then 5 days later, you're on fire.
No, you never would guess, right? You never would guess. I hadn't been a great year for me. I've been traded to the Yankees. I wasn't feeling great about things. I went in Cleveland, and they had a good team. They had a good hitting team, young team, and you're right. I got shellacked. Didn't get out of the 3rd inning, and so no. 5 days later, the last thing on anybody's mind probably was a no-hitter.
Yeah.
But things went well that day. Things fell into place, and it just goes to show, you wake up in the morning, you don't know what's going to happen today.
Know.
Maybe tomorrow,
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow things will get better.
Yeah. Let me ask you a dad question. You've got 2 daughters, and I know that I have a daughter. I know this with the road that we've traveled, and there's so many times that not just young girls, but just young people, things happen. Life gets in the way. There's these moments, and so many choose to go it alone. To go it alone.
Mm.
And have your daughters faced that? Or just to the opposite? Are they coming to mom and dad and say, gosh, I'm struggling here, or this is getting to me, or this is a burr under my saddle? What's been your experience?
That's a tough question. I hope that I've been a good support to my daughters. I think I have. I hope so. I know that one of the great blessings in my daughters' lives is they have a great mom.
Yeah.
My wife is tremendous, and I think that they lean on her to say things and do things that they probably don't share with me. But we're a close knit, and I think they know that we're there for them no matter what. And I'm so proud of all that they've accomplished. They've not been afraid of taking a chance, going and doing something different. They traveled away to go to school. They're living away from home now. They're doing cool things, and so. I'm proud of them, but I have to honestly tip my cap to their mom. She's the one. She's the mainstay of our family.
Remember that moment when your first daughter moved away for school?
I do. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It was tough.
It was rough, wasn't it?
It's tough to let go, but
yeah.
You have to trust the fact that they've got to carve their own path, and you want them to do that, right? You want them to build that strength and build that resiliency. That's a hard thing as a parent. We talk about it. We love, I think resiliency, adversity builds character, but the second that they face it, we come running, right? Yeah. And so when it's actually there, it takes some self-awareness and some discipline to let them go do their thing.
Is that part of the lesson that you learned? I mean, you had a comment in a different interview where You talked about being surrounded by parents, coaches, teachers, and mentors. You had people around you. Did that naturally just pay forward in terms of, okay, your daughters have people around them, you continue to have people around you?
Yeah, I think so. That's a hard thing. It's hard to lay yourself open. But I do believe that it's one of the most important things you can do is to surround yourself by good people, honest people, people who can tell you, where you're doing all right and maybe where you're not doing all right. And, you try to be that as a parent. So yeah, I'm constantly thinking about your team. Who's my team now? And we're lucky when we play sports. It's inherent. You have a team, and you work hard to make that a good team. In your personal life, sometimes it's a little lonelier. You have to strive to make that happen. It's a little bit harder.
Yeah, it has to be intentional. It was a leading question because I grew up being coached, and I've coached after my playing career, and I have now 10 men that surround me as my team. I don't call them my team, but it's coaches, parents, mentors of mine, people that, to your point, that lead, guide, and direct, and then get, as I described, get in my kitchen when stupid finds me.
Yeah. It
And
does
stupid
find us
finds
all.
me.
Yeah, it does.
But I think it's critical. And I look at, I was talking to one of the players out here, Doug Barron, and he was talking about his son who's serving and the people that surround his son that ensure that he does the most important thing, come home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no greater terms than those, right? The people who serve, and God bless them all,
Yeah.
for the challenges that they face and the difficulty that they go through for all of us. And probably there's no greater team building experience than when your life depends upon it, right? And so we can only imagine what they go through.
We're out here on Military Appreciation Day, and some of the veterans, that have been at war, been in military conflict. And one of them was saying, a pilot in the Vietnam War was talking about how he had appreciation as he was flying across the coastline of Vietnam, going into military conflict, going into battle. And I didn't serve. I don't know what that's like. I'm curious, in those big moments, okay, that's a life and death kind of moment. You don't face that. I didn't face that in terms of our athletic careers. When you're stepping out on the mound, you're not at risk for your life, but you still have these unbelievable emotions that are flying around. Were they always appreciative, or were there times where you were looking at the catcher and going like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, no, we all do. You have those moments of doubt. You have those anxious feelings leading up to a game. You have, nervousness and what's going to happen. You have, I think all of those can be, and not to be cliche, they can be catalysts, right? That's what pushes us. If you didn't care, if it wasn't, top of mind, and if it wasn't there to push you, maybe you don't perform as well. I think you learn to sort of try to key that in. I felt it today on the 10th tee. It's like I got to hit this. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience to draw upon as a golfer, but I got to calm myself down. You draw upon those same things, and so sure. I mean, there's a certain amount of scariness and uncertainty in the world, and being able to come through and call upon past experiences is very important.
Yeah. And that's, I think, really the epicenter of this program is talking about the levels of uncertainty that are in the world and the toxicity that's in the world. And how do you manage that? What do you believe in?
Yes.
And it's confusing. I mean, what do you believe in? What do you choose to believe in that's going to guide and direct you?
I believe in family. I believe in, I don't know. I'm private with some of the things that motivate me and push me. But I believe in people. I believe in being responsible and trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
And that's what, just trying to get better every day, waking up in the morning and trying to become better, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's family, whether it's some task that I have to accomplish, putting those things in front and getting it done and feeling good about it, putting your head on the pillow and waking up and doing it again in the morning. I believe in those things, and mostly, just, going back to the things my dad said, we're so blessed. I mean, look at the blue skies, the sunny weather. We're living in Southern California, just absorbing the enormous fortune that we've been born into, and trying to really, really appreciate it.
You made a very humble comment when we first shook hands, and you statement you made, paraphrase, was, I can't believe that there's people that want to hear me as a motivational speaker. And I kind of took me a step back in terms of, well, hold on. Jim Abbott has one of the greatest testimonies of all time. Why would you be surprised that people want to hear your story?
Maybe I phrased that wrong. I get it. I get it. My story. I get it. But I guess I guess I should say I don't really know that people would care to hear the way I speak, not necessarily what I'm speaking about.
Yeah, gotcha.
But at the same time, I always said, growing up, throughout my playing career, I've been blessed. Like my dad said, more has been given than was ever taken away. I had a good left arm. I was tall. I was strong. I could throw, and so, for me to try to create a narrative that's different than that now, and try to share that, sometimes feels a little bit weird to me. But I do understand that my story was different, and I do understand that there may be some inspiration to it, and so I just try to be honest. At the end of the day, I try to be authentic and try to be honest, and share what was real.
Yeah. You've heard of the international motivational speaker, Vujicic, born with no arms, no legs. And he makes a very real comment. He says, I never have to, when I'm going on stage, respond to somebody who says, break a leg. He goes, I don't have any legs.
Yeah.
And I go, gosh, the guy can laugh at.
Yeah,
That's
important.
But he talks about how he doesn't know any different.
Right.
And so he doesn't spend his life, well, I wish I had arms and legs. He has this fabulous life just the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
And taking his abilities as a speaker in this example of what he focuses on, and not on what people are categorizing as his disabilities.
Yeah. You have to have a sense of humor, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun. I think it's disarming in a lot of instances. So, I can't imagine the life he's lived, and all of us have our own story. All of us have. I don't even know that missing one hand was my greatest challenge. Maybe there were other things that I had to overcome, or we don't know.
Anything that you share?
I mean, I don't know. There's things I think about, and I guess my point is we can look at each other, we can sum somebody up, surface level. We can see what their story seems to be, but I don't think we know. I don't think we truly know underneath, what people have battled. And so there's room in the world for empathy. There's room in the world for understanding and kindness.
There's and it speaks to the reality. I mean, we're sitting in a place where arguably everybody's storefront looks unbelievable, right?
Right.
They look good, got some sun on their face, they're tanned, they're climbing out of this type of car into this kind of country club, and yet they're all facing the same life challenges.
Yeah.
And there's moments, and there's things that behind the scenes people are going like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah. I don't know. I that's for sure. We know that. We know that, you can't read it. You can't judge a book by the cover. But again, I go back to, there's this small bookstore, stationery store up in northern Michigan in the middle of the woods. You never find it. I don't even know how to work my way back to it. And it was Glenn Frostig, I think was the lady's name, who started it. She passed away, and it's become sort of a mecca. People go there for the artistry and the craft, and it's a very cool place. And she was buried, and on her headstone it said, "Here lies." I'm gonna mess this up. Gwen Frostig, I think was her name, and here lies Gwen, and she was lucky, and she knew it.
Lucky,
And she knew it.
Yeah.
And I think she had great fortune in her life, and a lot of people have that, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's always the next thing. It's always, so I think that's great. There's great wisdom in that story. When you're fortunate, I hope you know it. I hope you understand it and are able to appreciate it.
Yeah. But you look back at your career, you weren't lucky. I mean, your dad, you pushed yourself, right? You worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
You earned it. You have skin in the game. It just didn't come by, okay, I just was, just born with a strong left arm. Frank Pastore would talk about that, how he would talk about how he was no different than anybody else other than he can throw hard. Mm-hmm. And it earned his way out of some situations, that he caught himself in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're lucky. I know I'm lucky. I don't care.
You'll claim it.
I worked hard, but I was in the right place at the right time. I mean, you call it privilege, you call it fortune, whatever. You're talking about people and teams, and people pulled me through the door. They grabbed me by the jersey, said, "You're doing this. You can do this," and it made all the difference. I know that, and I know very well that not everybody has that. So, I mean, I can't claim that I climbed any ladder without help.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think going back to the go it alone comment, I think that's an important message that people realize that, hold on, I don't have to go it alone. And I don't, it's better if I don't, that they're surrounded by whatever number of people that are urging and nurturing, and in my case, getting in my kitchen, when I veer off course, helping me course correct. I think it's a critical part of it.
Huge.
So one last question, and I appreciate the time today. When you're either physically there, you spend some time in Michigan, or in your mind, is there a place that you go to where just to get quiet, just to get calm?
Yeah, I have a place. My happy place is a place in northern Michigan. We're in the woods. We're on Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
I go down in the morning and I sit in this chair and I look out over the lake, and most often there's a sailboat somewhere out there.
Yeah.
And I just kind of watch it and listen to thoughts, and I try to. It's I love being there. It's a very centering place. For whatever reason, when our life in Southern California seems a little busier, and I tend to jump right on the emails and all the things I need to do.
Yeah.
But that is the place that I try to draw upon and try to think about and try to, just kind of watch where the thoughts are going. That's the trick.
Yeah. I heard it described this way once, of getting to that place, getting quiet enough to where you can hear the whispers of God. Getting quiet enough to hear the whispers of God.
Yeah. What's the Bible verse? Be still and know that I am God. And so being still is very, very important.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate our time together, and I appreciate so much the fact that your focus point is on what you can do versus what you can't do. That's the message that I haven't heard you in your motivational speaking events, but I imagine that's woven into your message on what you can do versus what you can't.
Yeah, what's at your disposal? What talents do you have? What opportunity do you have?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
But we that's what we owe to ourselves. That mirror test.
Yeah.
Am I making the most of what I've been given?
Yeah, I like it. And there's the message. With all your accomplishments in the major leagues, and you said it earlier, I'm just trying to be better and trying to improve. And that's really the theme behind BePositive, as we stare at optimism and hope and encouragement, and that there's these kinds of testimonies of people that have that perspective on looking at what's right instead of staring at what's wrong, and then soaking in it and doing something with it.
Yeah.
Jim Abbott, awesome to be with you. Thanks
My
for
pleasure.
making the time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for joining us on the Be Positive podcast. You can find us at YouTube, Spotify, Apple, on social media at Be Positive Cause, or at our website, bepositive.life. This is the home of optimism, hope, and encouragement. We invite you to join us and become an ambassador of optimism.